Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The walls of the Galactic Arena loomed like a monument to both glory and despair. Massive, metallic structures adorned with holographic displays of fierce battles played out before the audience of brightly colored beings from every corner of the universe. The deafening roar of the crowd echoed, a mix of cheers and jeers, as two aliens, fierce and monstrous, clashed with vicious ferocity. In the center of it all, chained against a stark, cold wall, was Lucia. Her heart raced not from the adrenaline of battle, but from the sting of chains that bound her wrists and ankles. The metal felt rough against her skin, a constant reminder of her captivity. She fought against them, not just to free herself, but to remember who she was, a warrior, skilled and fierce. The weight of despair threatened to crush her spirit. She scanned the arena, her sharp green eyes searching for something, anything, that would indicate hope. But all she found was the greed in the eyes of the spectators. Their thirst for blood mingled with their hunger for entertainment. They reveled in the violence, every wince and roar fueling their appetite for more. But Lucia was no ordinary prisoner. Gritting her teeth, she flexed her muscles, feeling the strain of her captivity. So many times, she had fought against insurmountable odds. This was just another battle, albeit one she hadn't chosen. Her mind drifted back to the calamity that had thrown her into this hellhole. The skirmish that led to her capture, her comrades falling beside her. How had they allowed the invaders to take her? Suddenly, a commotion stirred the audience. The announcer's voice boomed over the chaos, an alien entity with a flair for theatrics. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for a fight like no other. Our next contender has arrived. The crowd erupted as a solitary figure stepped into the arena, his silhouette contrasting against the blinding lights. Lucia's heart skipped. There was something familiar about him, tall, athletic, moving with purpose. As he stepped closer, the anticipation in the air crackled like static. He wore the insignia of the Resistance, the group that had fought to liberate her from the clutches of the galaxy's invaders. "Alexander," she breathed, almost inaudibly. Hope surged in her, breaking the dam of despair that had threatened to drown her. As Alexander approached, his fierce blue eyes locked onto hers through the chaos. For a moment, the crowd faded. It was just the two of them, suspended in time. His determination was palpable, and with it came the promise that he would fight for her. The announcer's voice urged the crowd to cheer louder, and the world shifted back to the present. Alexander stood at the center of the arena, surveying the scene, making eye contact with various aliens, sizing them up. He had entered the arena not just as a fighter, but as her savior. In that moment, Lucia's heart shone with courage, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. As the first alien opponent charged at Alexander, a hulking beast with armored skin, Lucia's instincts kicked in. She shouted words of encouragement. "Use the footwork. Stay light." Her voice rang out, merging with the cacophony. Alexander smirked, responding with a confident nod. He dodged the attack effortlessly, demonstrating his skill and training. Lucia felt a swell of pride as he countered the alien's strike, using his speed to his advantage. The battle unfolded with ferocity, each movement a dance between life and death. While Lucia remained chained, her spirit soared as she watched Alexander take control of the situation, dispatching foes with grace and precision. But amidst the cheers, a darker presence lurked, a rival fighter watching the proceedings with a predatory gaze. The alien was large, with scaled skin that rippled like a predator's, and he had a ravenous interest sparkling in his eye as he fixated on Lucia. A thrill of fear shot through her as she realized he viewed her not as a prisoner, but as a prize to claim. "Stay focused, Alexander," she yelled, her voice rising over the chaos, determination sparking within her. "Don't let your guard down." Little did she know, this was only the beginning of their battles, both in the arena and the challenges that lay ahead. The arena pulsed with energy as Alexander fought off one opponent after another, a blur of actions punctuated by the clashing of weapons and the roars of the crowd. Each victory seemed to bolster Alexander's confidence, but Lucia felt the pressure mounting. She couldn't ignore the calculating gaze of the rival fighter who lurked in the shadows, waiting for a moment of vulnerability. Lucia struggled against her chains, anxiety driving her heart wild. She wanted nothing more than to be with him, to fight alongside him, rather than being a spectator bound in chains. It sickened her to think that her very presence was being deemed a commodity for the crowd's entertainment. As Alexander dispatched another alien, the crowd erupted into a frenzy, but Lucia's eyes remained locked onto the rival fighter, who began to step forward, stalking the arena like a predator closing in on its prey. "Let go of my hope," Lucia whispered defiantly. "I will not be your prize." In the arena, Alexander felt a shift in energy. He couldn't shake the feeling that something darker lay ahead. In between enemies, he glanced toward Lucia and saw the fire in her eyes, igniting a fierce determination within him. If anyone could break free from those chains, it was her. Just as he prepared to face another opponent, the rival alien made its move. With a guttural roar, he lunged at Alexander, a flurry of deadly blades forming in his grasp. The crowd's cheers echoed around him, but in that instant, all Alexander could hear was the beat of his own heart, the quiet cries of Lucia urging him on. "Time to show them what we've got," he muttered to himself, a familiar fire lighting up within him. His body moved with a fluid grace, dodging the rival's blows and retaliating with swift counterstrikes. But this alien was relentless and had an almost instinctual understanding of the arena, using its terrain to its advantage. Lucia knew that with each pass of the alien's blades, she was not only watching Alexander fight for his life, but also for her freedom. Gritting her teeth, she willed her chains to break, yearning for the ability to fight at his side. But all she could do was shout encouragement, her voice saturated with emotion. "Faster! Breathe! Control your center." Her words cut through the noise, guiding him like an echo in the storm. "But I need to free you. This is for you," Alexander shouted back as he narrowly avoided a strike that could have ended him. The rival fighter seized on this moment of distraction. He lunged forward with unexpected agility, landing a blow that sent Alexander sprawling to the ground. The crowd gasped, a wave of tension flooding the arena. "No!" Lucia screamed, panic surging through her. She could feel her pulse pounding in her ears. The chains felt heavier than ever as she strained to break free. And then, the rival fighter turned his eyes toward her, a sinister grin spreading across his scaly face. "By the time I'm done with him, you'll be begging for mercy, human," he hissed, slowly stalking towards Lucia. Time slowed as fear gripped her heart, but fury ignited her spirit. "No!" she shouted, channeling her strength. "I will not let you take my hope away." In that moment of desperation, something within Lucia clicked. An unbreakable resolve settled in her core. Adrenaline surged through her as she willed the chains to let go. As if sensing her defiance, the chains creaked, and for an instant, they felt loose around her wrists. There was a rush of power, energy coursing through her, like a wildfire igniting at her heart. She strained harder against the bindings as the crowd continued to chant wildly, absorbed in the spectacle before them. Meanwhile, Alexander rebounded from the ground, his instincts roaring as he faced the rival again. "You'll have to do better than that," he shouted, reclaiming his footing. The rival's amusement faded, replaced by fury as he lunged, striking fiercely. But Alexander was ready this time. He dodged and countered, using every ounce of his training as he engaged in a fierce exchange of blows. But as the crowd focused on the fight, Lucia's moment came. With all her might, she yanked on the chains one last time, and with a sharp snap, the metal shattered, falling away to the ground. She gasped, feeling the release wash over her like a tidal wave. "Freedom," she breathed, the taste of it intoxicating. Now unbound, her warrior spirit awakened fully. She sprang to her feet, her training kicking in as she charged toward the fight, the fire of purpose fueling her every movement. The crowd erupted into roars of excitement, their attention shifting to her. "Lucia!" Alexander shouted in surprise as he caught sight of her. A mix of pride and urgency flooded through him. "What are you doing?" I'm fighting with you, she replied fiercely. The connection ignited between them, a shared understanding that they were stronger together. They moved as one, each anticipating the other's moves. Alexander directed his attention back toward the rival fighter, and Lucia flanked from the side, utilizing her agility to dodge the enemy's blade. Together, they fought with exhilarating harmony, striking in perfect unison. The rival alien, momentarily caught off guard, growled in frustration. "You think you can defeat me together?" he snarled, desperate to regain control. "This isn't just about you," Lucia shouted. "This is for everyone you've oppressed." Empowered by their shared conviction, they continued to press forward, with newfound energy surging through them like a coiled spring, ready to unleash all their pent-up strength. Each blow they delivered was not just an attack, but a declaration of their freedom, a stance against injustice. The finale of the clash loomed near, and Lucia felt an electric pulse of connection with Alexander. The arena, once a symbol of despair, transformed into a battleground of hope as they fought for their lives and for the dreams of those still chained. As their combined efforts pressed the rival fighter into a corner, Lucia felt a surge of exhilaration. Each movement flowed seamlessly with Alexander's, the rhythm of their movements synchronized into a dance of fierce combat. The crowd roared as they watched the spectacle, their barbaric hunger for violence momentarily replaced by awe. "Watch your flank," Alexander warned as he pivoted to dodge a wild swing from the rival, allowing Lucia the opening she needed to attack. She surged forward, adrenaline pumping through her veins like fire as she landed a solid kick to the alien's side, sending him stumbling back. The crowd erupted with approval, and Lucia couldn't help the smile breaking across her face. This was no longer just a fight for survival, but a reclaiming of her identity as a warrior. But the rival alien regrouped quickly. Rage contorted his features, turning them into a mask of fury. "You think you can win? This is my domain," he bellowed, the words dripping with contempt as he swung his blades ferociously, forcing Alexander and Lucia to dodge and weave. "Together we can," Lucia replied, her resolve unwavering. Each beat of the battle artillery echoed her heartbeat, a rhythmic reminder that they were not just fighting for themselves, but for those left in chains. They worked to outmaneuver the rival, feeding off the crowd's energy, drawing strength from each other. But the opponent was relentless. With feral energy, he launched at them both, spinning and swiping his blades with terrifying precision. "Stay close," Alexander yelled, asserting himself between Lucia and the oncoming attack. With blinding speed, he parried the alien's weapon, their blades sparking on contact. Lucia wasted no time. Keeping her eyes locked on Alexander, she dove toward the rival fighter's legs and swept him off his feet. As he stumbled, she shouted, "Now!" With the rival momentarily dazed, Alexander positioned himself above the fallen creature, fists clenched, ready to strike. "You've underestimated us," he growled, channeling all his pent-up frustration. Before he could deliver the final blow, however, the rival hissed, "You'll pay for this." With a sudden motion, he rolled to the side, regaining his footing as he slashed at Alexander, who just barely dodged the attack. Lucia latched onto the momentum, leveraging her speed to flank the rival again. "Keep him busy," she called to Alexander, and he nodded, understanding the unspoken bond that had formed between them. As the battle raged on, Lucia spun around, dancing in and out of the rival's reach, her heart pounding in her chest. A tackle would bring down the opponent, but she needed to find an opening without being too reckless. Suddenly, the rival alien unleashed a barrage of ferocity, moving faster than she'd anticipated. The crowd gasped as Lucia was struck by the rival's blade, a shallow cut across her arm. Pain flared, hot and immediate, but she gritted her teeth, refusing to let it slow her down. "Lucia!" Alexander shouted, a moment of panic flashing across his face. "I'm fine. Focus," she shouted back, adrenaline blurring the lines of pain. The rival fighter had gained ground, his aggression intensifying as he zeroed in on Lucia, his eyes burning with a mixture of fury and lust for domination. With anger fueling her actions, she fought against the pain, stepping back cautiously, trying to bait the fighter. "Is that all you've got?" she challenged, her voice steady and unwavering despite her injuries. The rival snarled in response, advancing with renewed vigor, and Lucia deftly handled his strikes, using evasive maneuvers to dodge his attacks and lead him toward Alexander. "Now!" she yelled as she twisted away from another deadly slash, drawing him closer to her partner. Alexander acted instantly, exploiting the opening. He lunged forward, spinning into a powerful kick that connected sharply with the rival's torso, and the blow sent the alien staggering backward. The crowd erupted into a frenzied roar, their excitement pulsating through the air like a tangible force. Lucia felt empowered by their cheers, and as she positioned herself alongside Alexander, she could feel the energy between them bolstering their resolve. The rival, now disoriented and enraged, turned to face both of them. "You think you can defeat me together? You are nothing but pests," he shouted, though the tremble in his voice betrayed his mounting fear of their united front. "Together, we are stronger than ever," Lucia declared, heart racing. She felt a fierce rush of adrenaline and spurred Alexander on as they faced their opponent. This was their moment. Understanding the stakes, they executed a coordinated attack. Lucia focused on outmaneuvering the rival, while Alexander kept him distracted. They danced around him, each dodge and strike calculated, channeling both their strengths. As the rival fought back, threatening words glanced off Lucia like shards of glass, but they only fueled her fire. "You would enslave and kill for your own amusement, but we are the future." With a final, explosive collaboration, Lucia and Alexander launched themselves toward their foe. Lucia feinted to the left, steering the rival's attention away, while Alexander struck from the right. Their movements intertwined in a breathtaking display of trust and unity. In one powerful move, they both landed decisive blows on the rival fighter at the exact same time. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, defeated and breathless. Around them, gasps of disbelief rang from the crowd, who were now entirely captivated. "Finish it!" someone shouted, the frantic energy lifting the tension in the air to a climax. Lucia and Alexander exchanged a glance, their determination now a shared heartbeat. They approached the fallen fighter together, their bodies harmonizing with purpose. "No more chains, no more violence," Alexander declaring a promise as he looked down at the defeated rival. As the rival gasped for breath, his eyes filled with rage, but in that moment, they became aware that their fight had transcended the physical realm. It represented hope against tyranny, love against oppression. "Let this be a lesson to you all," Lucia said, her voice steady, fierce. "We will not be chained again." With that, the crowd erupted in a tidal wave of cheers, celebrating the unexpected turn of the fight, the rise of unity and bravery in the face of darkness. Lucia and Alexander stood together, victorious not just over the rival, but against the very chains that had once bound them. The atmosphere in the galactic arena crackled with excitement, the roar of the crowd reverberating against the metallic walls. For a moment after their victory, Lucia and Alexander stood bathed in the glow of triumph. The defeated rival fighter lay groaning on the ground, a testament to their united strength. Lucia turned to Alexander, her heart still pounding from adrenaline. Without words, the bond between them deepened, a silent understanding that neither of them needed to speak. They had fought beside each other, and now they were two souls ignited by the fire of freedom. Together, Alexander smiled, his eyes gleaming with pride. "We did it together." And then, with a collective realization, the crowd erupted into wild cheers. Humans and aliens alike reveled in the spectacle of defiance against oppression. The atmosphere shifted from a place of despair and cruelty into one brimming with possibility and hope. As the cheers continued, Lucia looked out at the crowd, their faces a mixture of disbelief and awe. Here she was, a chained warrior, now unbound and victorious, standing shoulder to shoulder with the man she cared for deeply. The moment felt surreal, electric, and full of untapped potential. But as celebration filled the arena, shadows loomed larger than before. Over the sounds of applause, came the threats whispered from the corners of the audience. It was a reminder that their battle was not over. It was merely a spark igniting a larger flame. "Lucia, we need to get out of here," Alexander whispered, scanning the crowd for any signs of approaching danger. "This arena will be crawling with guards looking to reclaim what they've lost." "Right," she replied, her voice steadying as her warrior instincts kicked in. They had no time to waste. In their victory, they had made powerful enemies, and in the chaos, their opponents would definitely regroup. Together, they navigated through the throngs of exhilarated spectators, the way forward illuminated by fleeting glances of admiration but also undeniable tension. Lucia could feel the weight of eyes upon them, some filled with respect, others with resentment. The alliance of humans and their newfound allies from various alien factions began to gel, but the path forward still felt precarious. As they moved through the crowd, murmurs of agreement and support sprang up around them, whispers of unity starting to resonate. The barrier of species and cultures began to blur, all thanks to the fight they had just won. It was a small victory in the grand expanse of their war. "Lucia!" A voice broke through the din, an excited shout laced with familiar tones. She turned to see a fellow member of the resistance, a woman named Talia, weaving through the dispersing crowd. "Talia!" Lucia exclaimed, relief washing over her. "I'm so glad to see you. Have you come to help us escape?" "Yes." Talia nodded vigorously. "The word of your fight spread rapidly. Many want to join your cause after witnessing your strength, but we worry the guards will retaliate quickly." Lucia turned to Alexander, their gazes matching in determination. "There's no time to celebrate," Alexander said. "We need to be on the move." Talia gestured toward a hidden exit on the far side of the arena. "This way. I have a ship ready. We can regroup and plan our next steps." Pushing through the remaining throng, Lucia could feel her pulse quicken. They dashed toward the exit, urgency weaving through them like a tapestry of fate. However, as they approached the door, an ominous presence halted their movements. A group of guards loomed at the entrance, dressed in armor that radiated authority. The leader stepped forward, a hulking alien figure with piercing eyes that missed nothing. "You think you can escape?" he sneered, voice dripping with disdain. "Your small victory changes nothing in the grand scheme of the arena. You are still prisoners, and there is no place for you to run." "Watch us!" Lucia shouted, defiance bubbling up. "We are not just prisoners. We are the beginning of a new uprising." With that, Alexander stepped beside her, fingers flexing, ready for another fight. "We won't back down even now." The tension in the air stirred, and Lucia felt the camaraderie among the onlookers swell, some even beginning to chant their support. In a quick moment, she felt camaraderie connect with strange allies among the spectators who wanted to see justice, not cruelty. The churning emotions in her heart propelled her forward. "Let's show them what we are made of," she yelled, rallying everyone around her. The guards exchanged uncertain glances, their confidence beginning to falter amid the rising tide of support. This wasn't just about one chained warrior anymore. This was about a movement, a tide that had begun to turn in favor of the oppressed. "Stand with us," Talia added, her voice imbued with conviction. "You've seen what we can do together. We can fight for our freedom." As if ignited by a fuse, murmurs of encouragement transformed into a roaring battle cry. The spectators surged forward, a collective wave of defiance. Lucia felt energy filling her body, urging her forward, filling her veins with strength. "Fight," she called, and they charged as one, an unstoppable force against the guards, unity igniting passion in every fighter's heart. The guards, now daunted by the throng, prepared to defend their ground, but with fervor and bravery, Alexander and Lucia led the charge. The battle erupted once more, chaos engulfing the arena. Together, they stood side by side, exchanging powerful blows, increasingly empowered by the sea of allies rallying against suppression. As Lucia fought, she felt the adrenaline course through her as it never had before. It was fervent fury paired with the desire for freedom, and nothing would stop the strength driving her forward. In the heat of battle, she soared, grounded on the earth, yet elevated by hope. With each punch and kick, she could feel the barriers of oppression shifting and softening. This was their moment, and the fight was far from over. The roar of battle surrounding them melded with the cries of freedom as Lucia and Alexander fought shoulder to shoulder with their newfound allies against the guards. Each clash of fists was a testament to their unwavering resolve, a shattering of old chains and a forging of new bonds. With every successful blow they delivered, Lucia glanced at Alexander, her heart racing not just from adrenaline, but from the depth of feelings boiling within her. This was more than a fight for survival. It was a fight for a future she could envision alongside him. Her thoughts flickered to the undeniable chemistry that had only intensified since their reunion. Each shared moment charged with energy, exhilaration, and something deeper, an understanding, a connection that transcended beyond mere friendship. Suddenly, a guard stumbled forward, aiming for Alexander. "Look out!" Lucia called, instinctually moving to block the attack. She faced the guard head-on, feeling the rush of adrenaline course through her. In one smooth motion, she struck, balancing her physical prowess with an emotional surge. The guard went down, collapsing under the force of her blow. But as she regained her stance, her breath hitched at the sight of Alexander fighting fiercely just a few steps away. He moved with balletic grace, dodging and countering with every strike, embodying power that attracted her like a gravitational pull. It wasn't just physical attraction, it was something primal. Mating instincts ignited in her, an understanding of the potential bond they could share once this fight ended, an intricate dance of warriors finding strength in one another. "Lucia, stay close," Alexander shouted, the sound of his voice grounding her in the chaos. It reminded her of the bond they shared, a tether that could not be severed even amid peril. "I'm right here," she responded, feeling invigorated by the prospect of their fight and of their future. Whatever happened in this arena would not define them. It was merely the beginning. With every successful combat move, she felt the energy between them crackle. It spoke of partnership, of a commitment that went beyond fighting together. It whispered promises of a future where they could mate, not just as warriors, but as something more profound. "Stand firm," Talia called, her voice carrying through the tumult as they continued to press against the guards. "We need to push forward." Their small coalition surged together, and as they gained momentum, Lucia felt Alexander's hand brush against hers. A spark ignited. With their hands almost touching, the energy palpable between them sent thrilling sensations coursing through her. As they moved, their movements synced. Every dodge and strike conveyed trust and unspoken promises. Alexander's fierce gaze caught hers, and the intensity of their connection deepened. This was more than just survival. It was a prelude to an intimacy they had to explore, a mating dance, enhanced by their shared experiences and emotions forged in battle. The tide of engagement shifted as support grew, and curiosity flared among the spectators. Those who once viewed them as prisoners were becoming more interested in the sparks flying between the two warriors. An understanding washed over the crowd that this wasn't just about fighting anymore. It was about asserting their identities, their passions, and the right to forge bonds with one another. In the heat of the battle, Lucia suddenly felt the tide turn. The canopy of guards began to falter. Alexander, sensing it too, turned to her, a fire in his eyes. "Together we end this." He reached for her hand and gripped it tightly. "Together," Lucia echoed, her heart swelling with determination, attachment, and the thrilling understanding of what could be. With renewed vigor coursing through their bodies, they charged in unison toward the remaining guards, their movements liquid and harmonious. The collective energy of their allies surged behind them, cheering as they fought against terror. As they closed in, Lucia pulled Alexander close for an instant, whispering, "No matter what happens, I need you to know." "I know," he interrupted, his gaze holding her captive in the chaos. "When this is over, we will explore what it means to be together. It's about more than just survival. We belong to each other." In that fleeting moment of connection, the chaos around them faded to the background. Their shared breaths mingled, and the chemistry fraught with feeling crackled between them. It was a realization of shared purpose and connection that bound them both, a mating of souls amid the fires of battle. With a powerful united push, they surged forward, deeper into the fray, ready to claim their victory, not just for themselves, but for every being who had suffered. As they fought, Lucia couldn't help but imagine the life they would build together beyond this arena, finding solace in each other, finding love in the eye of the storm. "Let's finish this!" she shouted, unleashing all the pent-up energy that had been swirling inside her. With Alexander by her side, she could take on the universe. The final confrontation loomed ahead, the resistance of guards faltering as their morale crumbled. Together, they fought as allies, as warriors unchained, and unyielding love beginning to blossom, awaiting its time to flourish fully. The battle intensified, a whirlwind of motion and sound surrounding Lucia and Alexander as they pressed forward against the remaining guards. Every strike ignited the cheers of their allies, and with each opponent they took down, the crowd's support grew, flooding the arena with a tide of unity. "This is it!" Alexander shouted over the chaos, adrenaline pulsating in his veins. "We can turn the tides." Lucia felt her heart race, the beat echoing with the strength of their bond. The arena, once a symbol of captivity, was transforming into a battleground of liberation, a canvas where they would paint the future they dreamed of. Surging ahead, Lucia and Alexander coordinated their movements with newfound precision, each strike connected with a palpable energy. With a final push, they launched themselves toward the last remaining guards, now visibly wavering in both morale and strength. "Together!" they shouted in unison, and with one powerful assault, they sent the remaining guards staggering back. As the dust began to settle, the last of the guards fell, and silence enveloped the arena. A collective gasp erupted before the crowd erupted into raucous applause, a wave of relief sweeping through the spectators. Lucia and Alexander stood breathless, covered in the marks of their battle, but victorious, their connection stronger than ever. As the cheers from the audience echoed around them, they turned to face each other. "Lucia, we did this!" Alexander breathed, amazement shining in his eyes. "Yes, together," she replied, pride swelling within her. "But it's just the beginning. We have a chance to forge something beautiful from this chaos." They stepped closer, the electric connection igniting around them like a flame. In that moment they embraced, and as their lips met in a passionate kiss, the energy around them ignited. It was the culmination of their fight, their unyielding spirits, and the recognition of a bond that transcended their current struggle. Just then, the crowd erupted in cheers again, witnessing the union of bravery and love, a stark contrast to the chains they had just broken. As they pulled away, Lucia looked into Alexander's eyes, a promise unspoken yet clear. "Let's gather the others. We must unite our forces and push for freedom beyond this arena. Together, we can change everything." "Agreed. And after this, I want to explore what it means to be with you, to mate and build a future," he said, a hint of vulnerability and hope in his voice. "Then let's do it," Lucia replied, determination sealing the promise of the bonds they would forge both as warriors and partners, side by side. As the initial echoes of jubilation subsided, Lucia and Alexander led their newfound allies out of the arena, the cheers of liberation resonating through the air. The once oppressive structure now felt like a monument to their success, a symbol of unity and strength among those who had fought for freedom. "Now we must regroup and plan our next moves," Lucia declared, determination coloring her voice as they reached the outskirts of the arena. She could see the faces of the resistance members who had witnessed their battle, their eyes wide with newfound hope. "Yes, we can't let this momentum fade," Alexander replied, his confidence bolstered by their victory. It was a spark that would ignite a revolution across the galaxy. As they gathered in a hidden alcove away from prying eyes, strategy was discussed, alliances solidified, and a plan for their next steps took shape. Each fighter shared stories of oppression and hope, their camaraderie strengthening with each tale. Lucia could feel the power of their unity thrumming in the air. Later, as the night sky stretched above them, a silver moon casting its glow, Alexander pulled Lucia aside. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. "Of course," she replied, her heart fluttering with anticipation. They stepped away from the group, seeking solace in the quiet moonlight. The night was still, save for the distant sounds of celebration, but Lucia could feel the intensity of their connection. "You fought with incredible strength today," he began, looking deeply into her eyes. "You inspire me, Lucia. I've always felt a connection to you. But what we shared in that arena, it felt like destiny." Lucia swallowed hard, her heart racing. "I feel it too. It's more than just surviving side by side. It's about building something meaningful together, a future." He stepped closer, the warmth of his presence enveloping her. "After everything we've faced, I want to explore that future with you. To know what it means to truly bond, to mate and connect in every way possible." Her breath caught in her throat, the weight of his words sinking in. "Yes, I want that too. I want to embrace not just our fight, but each other," she replied, a smile breaking across her face. In that moment, they drew closer once more, their bodies instinctively finding alignment. The kiss they shared was charged with promise, a mingling of souls, the grace of warriors melding into something deeper. As they pulled away, their foreheads touched, breaths mingling in the cool night air. "Let's take this day as the first step into our shared life," Lucia said softly. "We will create something beautiful from this chaos," Alexander vowed. "Together, we'll inspire others like us to rise against oppression. We will build a path for future generations." As they returned to their allies, hand in hand, they knew this was not simply a victory in the arena, but the dawn of a new age. Together, they would lead the charge for liberation, forging bonds of strength and love that would withstand even the toughest storms. The spark of revolution was ignited, and with it, the promise of a new beginning, one where love and freedom intertwined seamlessly, marking a journey toward unity for all beings across the galaxy. And in every battle they fought, they would carry the flame of hope, the understanding of what it truly meant to fight, to love, and to mate amidst the stars.